was about to be married when her mother called her to her and said, "Darling, I have one piece of advice to give you that you must heed, and that is that you must never allow your husband to see you naked." So the wedding took place. It was a very lavish affair. And a few weeks later, the husband was having his drinks, Friday night drinks with his friends down at the local, and his friends asked him, "Well, how's married life for you?" And he said, "Oh, it's wonderful. She's a fantastic cook. Our love making is incredible. But she's got one very strange habit. She insists on wearing a hat to bed." The personal anecdote that's already been told is the time when I first went to Divine Mother, when I first met her after getting over the fear that she could see through me, through and through, and it was a very great fear, I realized that in some sense that I'd arrived, that I was in the presence of God, so to speak. And sometime later I went to her and I tried to thank her, but she would never allow that. She would never allow anyone to hug her or bow in front of her. But I wanted to thank her because my family was now in harmony. It seemed that we'd come together in ways that were never there before. And she scolded me and she said, "Of course, because you were never there for them. You were too busy looking for God." And I was quite shattered by this. I went home and I cried a lot. Going over, I tried to be a good wife and a good mother, etc., 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 until finally the penny dropped for me and I suddenly realized, yes, I was never there. I was never present. I was always questing. Every moment of my life was that quest. Then there's that story about the king. He was fair and kind in every way. He was tall and handsome, but he was also impotent. Even though he had wives and concubines, his absence of libido did not allow himself to fulfill the desire that was there for most monarchs to have an heir, a son. He tried all of the potions, he tried all the soothsayers and the magicians and the physicians, but to no avail, until one day he heard that there was a dervish who'd come into his realm who was said to be able to cure any kind of malady. So taking himself in disguise, he went to this dervish and told him his problem. The dervish said, "Oh, I can remedy that for you." And he took down from the shelf a little vial and he quaffed down about 2/3 of the vial himself, and then he passed the vial to the king in disguise and he said, "Now take this, but be sure that you only take 1 drop a day for the next 3 days and see what happens." So the king went off and doing as he was told. After the first drop, he felt himself to be like an ordinary man. But after the second day and the second drop, he felt a life force surging within him of desire. And on the third day, after the third drop, he came like a raging bull, sexual energy driving him, so he had, you get the picture. So, of course, this was wonderful. He was enjoying all his wives and his concubines for some time, but of course he settled into that new way of life, which gave him kind of a moment or two to ponder. And the question that he pondered was, how was it that this dervish was able to quaff down, a goodly amount of this elixir, and only 3 drops made him like a raging tiger in the bed? So he took himself off to the dervish again. He said, I want to thank you for what you have done for me. I'm now, told him the story, and but I'm wondering, how was it that you were able to take so much of this elixir, and I only had 3 drops, and I was overcome with manliness and desire? And the dervish said, yes, I can answer your question, but with the powers that have come to me after my years, I can see that it's no point in doing so, because you're not going to be here tomorrow morning. You're doomed to die tonight. Well, of course, the king's knees started to quiver and quake, and he was terribly afraid. He could hardly find his way out the door, or even give the courtesy of things. But the dervish said, before you go, I'll try to help you. Here. And so he took down another vial of the elixir from his shelf, and he gave the whole lot to the king. The king hardly even noticed what was happening to him. He just staggered out of the door and went back to his palace, and told, when he went in, all of the wives and the concubines came around to fondle him. No, go away. No, I don't want to see you. Just leave me alone. So he went straight to his bed chamber and lay down on his bed, contemplating his terrible death that the dervish had said was going to come to him. Well, the night passed, and his satin sheets felt like they were full of knives. He tossed and turned and tossed and turned and sweated, waiting for death to come upon him. But then he saw the first rays of the sun coming in through the window, and he said, "Oh, I've been saved. The dervish has saved me. I'm not dead." So he raced off to the dervish to thank him profusely for saving his life. The dervish said, "Oh, I knew you were not going to die, but I wanted this to be a lesson of awareness for you." So we can ask, what was the lesson that the dervish was teaching the king, and what can we glean from the story of the wife and my own personal anecdote? But it's summed up in a question that can be posed to each of us, and perhaps that can be qualified by, over these last days, watching these learned astrological pundits, and all of them are saying that there's a kind of tug of war going on between Saturn and Uranus, Saturn being the old ways of control, etc., and Uranus being the new sovereignty, bringing us into a new state of freedom. So the question that is posed with this is, what is it? Do we still have a ball and chain that we drag along behind us every moment, whatever that might constitute? Even the desire for God is a ball and chain, because it keeps us from being present and aware? Or is it like the monk and his fig leaf? Because we know every ounce of energy we have has to be used to keep that fig leaf, small though it is, in place. Are we still dragging a ball and chain? Are we still using our energy to keep in place a fig leaf? What was it that the dervish said to the king? The reason why this potion does not have an effect on me and had such a profound effect on you is
I'm not sure of the exact words, but what came to me is that you're giving away your power to other people rather than recognising what you have yourself.
yes. What is our ball and chain? What is our fig leaf? But we have the opportunity now, as the pundits are saying, that Uranus is going to win, or has already won. But the push-pull is still going on. What is it for us?
You have to let the penny drop like you did.
Yes,
And it's really hard.
yes. But what is this saying that the dervish, just like it was for me with Divine Mother, like stabbing me with a knife? Of course, she said. You were never there for them. Why are we not here and totally present every moment?